Well, it is fun to be here. Thank you so much. I'm Jeremy, and that means she is Leanne, and we're thrilled to be here. This is actually home for me. I grew up in Coeur d'Alene, and Leanne is from south of Boise.
Very south.
Yeah, but good to have you. Resilient marriage. We're thrilled that you'd be here. How many of y'all are married? Anybody? Oh, we need to change our notes. Okay. No, whether you're married for like 50 years, 50 days, whether you're like engaged, maybe this is your first date. Anybody? Like, wow, you're like, wow, what did I get into? Well, good to have you with us today. We're talking about resilient marriage. Resilience just means that you're going to go through something tough, but you're going to bounce back. And I can promise you this. That you are going to go through some really tough times in life. Isn't that encouraging? Some of you are like, I want some more positivity. Okay, I am positive. You are going to go through some very rough times, but resilient marriages bounce back. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about trust. And we are kind of like dog people now. So we have a dog.
Yeah, this is new for us.
Yeah, how many of you are, like, anybody have dogs? Okay, we got pictures of dogs,
So
okay?
like you now.
Here's a cute, yeah. Okay, how about this next one? It's a teacup, or no, that's like a perma poodle. And then this is the teacup one. Everyone falls in love with the front side of a puppy, okay? How many know a puppy has a backside? Anybody figured that one out yet? Okay, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna walk through this idea of marriage. A lot of people fall in love with the front side of marriage. How many of y'all know the marriage has a backside as well? Okay, do not point. Okay, but it does. So we're gonna walk through some of that. So that's what we're walking through today. And so Leanne, talk to us a little bit about what makes marriage tough.
Well, I don't know if you're like us, but we're really different. So
Yeah.
Sometimes we marry somebody that is very different from each other. So if you're in that category, I'm just gonna help you feel like you're not alone, okay? So we're really different. Have you ever taken a personality test? Who's taken a personality test? Mm-hmm. So we have, and even that says we're really different. So it is so good. Okay, some things that we're different. I like sweets. He likes savory.
True.
I like music on. He prefers it quiet. I like to call. He likes to text. I'm a store shopper. He's an online shopper.
Oh, yeah.
He's a visionary, and I'm more of a realist. To relax, I engage in conversation. To relax, he disengages in
Come on.
conversation.
I feel like y'all judging me. Okay, how many? Come on.
I got to write this list. Okay. I like to stop and smell the roses, and Jeremy drives so fast, he goes right over them.
It's all right.
I love road trips. He loves no trips.
Yeah.
Jeremy has lots of ideas. I have lots of reasons why they won't work. I like predictable chick flicks, and he likes suspenseful, unpredictable suspensefuls. Okay, I like late night conversation. He likes something else.
Yes. That's true.
I'm a spender, and well, he's a spender too, so we are the same.
That
like
works. That works.
My idea of a Sunday afternoon is just to stroll in TJ Maxx, and his idea on a Sunday afternoon is watching TJ Watt.
Football.
And
That's football.
I
That's
think
a
he's
football.
player because I've seen his jersey in TJ Maxx.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Clarence.
So we're different.
Yeah. Well, part of that difference is what we're going to do today is we're going to walk through what are the things that we have to have unity in, right? And you could be totally different, and that's all right. It makes it spicy, it makes it fun. But what we all need to agree on is how do we trust that God has got a better plan? As we walk through our time during these few moments, I want to walk through this idea that if we trust that God's processes, God's challenging process, a challenging process that you might not even want to sign up for, whether it's just the differences y'all have, whether it's, it could be career stuff, it could be physical stuff, but if you trust the challenging process, you'll be able to enjoy the choice product. That God has something, we believe that marriage can be sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. It's like wine, not milk, okay? The older that it gets, milk isn't better, right? Marriage can be more like wine and less like milk if you trust God in the process and learn to trust each other in this. And so we're gonna walk through this idea through a scripture. It might be familiar for some of you. You've been in church a lot. Maybe you're familiar with this because it's kind of famous. It's Jesus' first miracle. If you haven't been in church much at all, let's just kind of do the setting. Jesus, he shows up at this party. It's a wedding. And back in those days, the wedding party is like a major statement. You got a couple, you got a family that's helping celebrate this couple, and everyone shows up. And they run out of wine. And what we have in this scripture, it says, on the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Actually, can you read it? You're better than I am at reading. You got glasses.
Okay, that's true. Okay, on the third day, a wedding took place in Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. And Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim, and then he told them, "Now draw some out and take them to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best until now."
Okay, so in this story, and well read, but in this story, you have this incredible excitement about a wedding. And it happens every Saturday in this area. Like, people decide, let's get a judge, let's get a pastor, let's invite our friends, let's have a cake, let's comb our hair, and all this kind of stuff. And they get married. So getting married is not a big deal. It's easy to do, okay? But having a marriage beyond an event is a big deal. So in this setting, they're celebrating and everyone shows up. Like you're talking like as they're coming in, they're like, "It's exciting. I didn't even know you were coming, and this is great." And then, "Hey, your friend from work came, and they brought their friends, and are we gonna have enough?" And I can imagine they're getting like a little bit nervous. And then they realize, okay, like, your uncle is drinking way too much, right? And I don't know if you all got an uncle like this, right? Or if you are an uncle like that. But what happens is they're starting to realize they don't have what it takes to be able to provide what it is they expect to provide. And so they get to this spot where they're like, okay, we are empty. The first miracle of Jesus is at a wedding when a couple is empty and no longer has anything to pour out. And what we see 2,000 years ago is Jesus shows up when this couple doesn't have anything else to give. Now, Leanne, I want you to walk through like this science experiment for us. Kind of walk through what this might look like, okay, in our life, because that was 2,000 years ago. So, make it like, 2024.
Okay, so like Jeremy was talking about, let's just use this picture right here. It's full of water, and we know, well, how many know that people suck? I mean,
Careful.
They can suck the life right out of you.
There you go.
Know
there now, saying? Yes.
So let's just use, this is like our life, okay? And this is our tank. This is our love tank. This is what we have for the day. This is our tank. But this right here represents different people and things in our lives that can drain us. And so let's say, we'll just go with the first one here is the middle of the night. You have a screaming baby that's hungry and they're all wet. So they need fed. They need change, their sheets need changed, and honestly, that takes a lot, okay? And then, let's say you're at work, and you show up at work and you have coworkers that expect a lot from you. Maybe you have a coworker that when you show up, you're their counselor and they're always giving you their scenarios, expecting you to give them encouragement and counseling. They don't know much about your life. They're consumed with you helping them get through theirs. And so there's that. And so that can be draining. And then let's say there's a PTA president and has called you so many times and they need you to volunteer for the next 5 shifts at the book fair. And you're busy and this has happened. If I'm probably going to miss some. If you feel like there's one that you need this cup filled, you just let me know. Okay, then.
My in-laws.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing.
This is the in-law one, and my in-laws are amazing, and they're here.
Shot glass?
And so
Makes
we're
sense.
going to that one. You're amazing. My in-laws are amazing. But if you have in-laws that drain you, that's for you, okay? What else do we got here? What am I missing? The car broke down, and the person that you need to rely on to maybe give you a ride isn't available. Which one we got here? Okay, here's one. You get home from work or home from a long day, and the crock pot that holds your dinner, because all the people in your family are hungry, and you get home and the house doesn't smell like dinner because you forgot to turn the crock pot on, but you still have.
That sucks the life out of you.
Sucks the life right out of
Right
you.
out of you, right out of you.
All these things, and then it's toward the end of the day and you are spent, you are pooped, you are tired, you cannot wait to hit your pillow at night. So you crawl in bed and you look over, and this last cup represents your spouse. And so you're laying there and you get the look, and you're like, oh, #headache. But there you go, and you're empty. And here's the bummer is sometimes we have emptied ourselves out throughout the day, and the people that you love the most and that mean the most to you, you have nothing left to give. And I can only imagine the story we were reading 2,000 years ago. You have this bride and groom that are celebrating this really special day, and the anxiousness that they must have felt when the people that they loved the most, the people that took the time to show up and celebrate them at the wedding, that they were worried because they didn't have enough to give, but they wanted to. And then enters Jesus, right? And he is the source. He's the one that fills us up, and without him, we become empty. And so I don't know how this hits you, but I'm going to guess you have some stories like this.
Leanne, part of the challenge of marriage is, let's say you've got 2 spouses, right? And let's say you both have these kind of days. And then you're looking at each other to feel it, and I've got nothing. I've got nothing for you. And what happens is we need to understand who is the source, right? Is I can't be filled up. None of these people can fill me up, and I can't just eliminate them from my life. And so we're going to talk about what happens when we have 2 empty people that are bound by commitment and they have good intentions. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you wrong to be empty. It just makes you desperate for Jesus to show up and do a miracle in the wedding, do a miracle in the marriage. And so we're gonna look at that. We got a few different ways. How do we learn? Because a lot of times when we get empty, when we're both empty, that's when we turn on each other and we don't trust each other because there's something off. We're like, man, you don't have enough time for me, you don't have enough time for them, or you're not meeting my needs. And we can start being focused like that, and we erode our own trust. So what we wanna do is we want to believe foundationally that resilience is being able to every day wake back up and saying, I'm ready. I'm ready for the world around me, and I'm ready for my spouse. It also means that if you've been in a marriage for a long time and you feel a lot like this, don't look, don't point, just blink twice, okay? But what happens is if you feel like that, you're like, that's me. Like I feel dried up. I feel like one of those vases at that John wedding. Like absolutely filled up and the demands are still there. What do I do, right? We just believe that even challenging processes, Jesus says, I want you to get filled up because I still want you to pour out. And he's gonna give you assignment, and that assignment is gonna be challenging. However, even the most challenging process might deliver the most choice product if you trust Jesus and learn to trust each other. So we want to talk, we want to take a few moments, and we want to talk some practical tools about how do we build this trust. And so we have an outline there. We also have some resources that if you want to take home of any of these are resources that we recommend. We think they're really helpful in any of these areas. So let's walk through what some of these might be.
And obviously tonight we're just gonna drop some nuggets. I know Jeff and Carrie are gonna just drop some nuggets and try and just rapid fire some of these things. So the first one is clarity. This 6 ways to build trust with your spouse. And the first one's clarity. Avoiding words like always and never will help you. You know, you always do that or you never do that. Those are things that cause quick discussions.
Yeah, and so part of that clarity too is say what you mean. And here's what Leanne and I have figured out in our marriage, and it only took us about 15 years, that we are terrible in the language of hint. You know what I'm talking about, the language of hints?
You're terrible in the language of getting the hint.
That's it. That's true. See, that's clear. She's saying what she means, okay? She's saying what she means.
I'm just teasing. So, no, like I'll say, Jeremy will say, hey, do you want to watch a movie? And I'll say, well, I would like to, but I have a lot of things to do around the house.
Bummer for you. Well, here's what's crazy. I honestly felt bad because I have a strong gift of empathy, okay? And so I really felt bad in those moments. I had no idea that was her way of saying, please help me around the house.
Please help, yeah.
My life was so much easier when I didn't have an idea. But now I got an idea, I got responsibility.
But being clear is super helpful. Don't be a hinter. I wasted a lot of time on that, and it's not. You just need to be clear and kind. Okay,
there's a great resource there that we have, a book there. But the second one is kindness. Say what you mean. That was the first one, is clarity. Say what you mean what you say. But second one, kindness, is say what you mean, but wrap it in love. For example, okay, cologne, perfume, it's kind of expensive, right? You know, it's like, $75 at the mall or 75 cents at a truck stop. But you get, perfume, it's got a value to it. Here's what they say about perfume. The most expensive part of the perfume is not the content. That's the cheapest part. It's actually the container, right? And so the fancy shape of the perfume and the glass, that's what makes it valuable. And here's what we need to understand about that is the outside is important. The container is important. What you say, that's important. How you say it's actually even more important. Some of y'all, you've got some real accurate thoughts. You got to just send it to the marketing department before you send it out to distribution, is what I'm trying to say, right? Is kindness. So Leanne, we've got some things that I really feel what will destroy trust is when you're not kind. And so what are some things that we've put in our marriage? Some no's.
Well, one is the volume of the way we talk to each other. We never raise our volume because for us that it raises an intensity, and maybe we're just not wired that way too. So, but for us, volume.
Here's Leanne's little secret on that. And if we're like, because I'm passionate, I'm convinced about whatever we're talking about, and then she'll just get really quiet. That's my cue that I'm really loud
right now.
Okay. That's a good cue. It's a good cue.
Get really quiet, and yes, he knows he better listen in. No name calling. So avoid the name calling. Another big deal that we have never, not once done in almost 27 years, and is say the D word. We never, ever say the word divorce in our house. And I think there's so much power to that principle because what that has allowed us is to grow through our challenges instead of grow out of our challenges. And when you can take that off of the table, it makes you hold on tight and get through it. And I just really believe that is something that will help you to one, there's so much safety and security in that, knowing that you're here. Yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
Vulnerability, I think an easy definition for me to remember for vulnerability is you know exactly how to hurt me the most. I hand you the knife and trust you not to. because there's gonna be nobody that knows you better than your spouse. And if you prove to be an unsafe person, even in your words or your threats, even if you don't mean it, it closes off vulnerability. And what happens is you're not able to open up the gift that God gave you in each other. And even if you've been married a long time and some of these things are habits that you haven't done, today, guess what? You're in charge of you. You can redo it and redo the rules and really say, okay, how can the rest of my marriage even be better? So that's kindness. Now, curiosity is never stop exploring. There's a definition for the word intimacy. Okay, intimacy is finding out about your partner. Intimacy, I think, as a way to say it, is into me. See, is I want you to get to know me like nobody else. So intimacy is when you know everything about me. So Leanne, we have, I know Leanne's an athlete because she was a cheerleader in college. And so she always reminds me that's an athlete. Okay, so we're gonna play catch, okay? So this is a lot of times how we think, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Okay, yeah, this is probably how we think communication is, right? We're just, I say something, she catches it, she says something, I catch it. I say something, she catches it. No, hold your applause, unless you're all going to. Okay, so a lot of people think this is communication, but that's not true. That's not marriage. That's not relationships. This is actually more like communication, okay? We're not playing with a ball, we're playing with Play-Doh. I say something, she says something, and now I gotta stop and shape it however I wanna shape it. She didn't throw me a ball. She threw me something malleable. I shaped this based on my past. I shaped this based on my mood. I shape this based on what's going on in my day. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and all of a sudden, like they had emotions and you didn't even know where those emotions came from? And they're like, you said this, and you're like, I didn't say that. It's because you're not playing catch with the ball. You're playing catch with Play-Doh. How they're wired, how they're triggered, how they respond. And so many times what happens when we're empty and they're triggered, we feel like, what's wrong with you? You should get help for that. And for real, what happens is we start cutting off the safety valve. And what we need to do is saying, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know why that word felt that way. And we start asking each other, pulling the string, and asking more details. What did it feel like? And so we have resources on these, and this will be helpful on that.
Yeah, just don't shut down. Just keep asking, keep being curious, and keep the conversation going.
All right, fourth one is confession. Now, that doesn't necessarily, if you're come from a Catholic background, maybe that'll help too, okay? But that's not what we're talking about. Confession on this is being able to say out loud when you're wrong to your spouse. I fully believe in confession, but in order to develop trust, I gotta be able to develop an ability to be responsible and say, hey, here's where I owned this. Like we have a daughter, all of you probably know if you've ever been around a little kid when they're potty training. I remember when our daughter was fairly good at potty training, which means you made mistakes, right? And so I remember thinking like, man, something just reeks in here. And you all know what that smells like, right? You're like, and you look at Sydney and Sydney's looking guilty.
So cute.
Yeah, very cute, but didn't smell cute. And it's back end puppy stuff, right? And you're like, hey, Sydney, did you poop your pants? Right? And it's an opportunity for her to just kind of grow in honesty right there. And she's like, no, I didn't poop my pants. You're like, well, Sydney, can you come here? No. Sydney, come here. I think you pooped your pants. I didn't poop my pants. Like, I come here. And you do the fish hook.
Time for the diaper check.
Right, you do the diaper check where you go in there, you look, you put your nose in there. And then you're like, yeah, that's poop, okay? And then you look at her, Sydney, did you poop your pants? She's like, no, I didn't poop my pants. Well, I'm really concerned because someone pooped your pants, okay? I don't know who it was. And when we're having conversations, we need to get to the spot where I'm like, okay, my attitude, yeah, it stinks. I gotta tell you, your marriage will take off here's a very mature skill. When you can recognize mid-conversation, I'm sorry. I don't like the tone of how I'm communicating. Can I start over? Like, I'm so sorry. I did not want to make you feel this way. Like, I just felt like I just made you scared or I made you uncomfortable or I made you mad. I'm sorry. When you can be the first one in your relationship to apologize, to confess, to say it out loud, oh my word, it builds trust, right? So, Leanne, walk us through the next one.
Okay, the next one is connection. Be connected to the source. Be connected to Jesus. Be connected to your spouse. And for, oh, no.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I was like, oh, did I? Yes, so for us and for every couple, there's always going to be opportunities to go through really hard times, really great times, but always you're going to face really hard times throughout your marriage. And one of the things that we went through several years back was Jeremy went through a period where he had a lot of anxiety, and that wasn't something that he had ever had before. It wasn't something that we had experienced with each other at all. And because of life circumstance of what was going on in work and life, he kind of shut down.
When she says kind of shut down, it means I totally shut down.
Totally shut down.
Totally shut down.
Yeah, which was scary, and we had to choose. I had to choose to fight really, really hard to stay connected. And it was challenging, but I'm telling you, the Lord helped us through because we stayed connected to Him. We stayed connected to each other. I didn't go outside of the boundaries of my marriage trying to connect with somebody else because my husband wasn't necessarily able to connect with me in the way that I needed him to. We were committed to working through. You don't know when you're in a season. You don't want to make a bad season, a bad choice during your bad season, a bad lifetime.
Oh man, a bad choice on a bad day could really set in tone a lot of consequences, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so being committed to staying connected and devoted, and truly your number one connection is Jesus, right? Yeah. And when you trust Him to be your source for everything, it just helps with every relationship.
Yeah, one of the things that, practically speaking, in that situation, for me, I just didn't have the ability to be super present, right? And so I could tell that they were really trying hard, the girls and Leanne, to try and get me to engage. Like, hey, it's family game night. And I'm like, I know this has to be painful for them. I couldn't get out to be able to engage. And I was empty. And at that time, I'm so thankful she wasn't relying on me to be her source. But what she did is she fought for me, and she created a safe place for me and kept, hey, let's engage, let's connect. And God was able to help pour out in time, but she kept to be a safe place. Some of you feel like, I don't have the words to connect. Keep fighting to connect. That's why some of these resources are important.
And also, in case anyone needs to hear this, we also went through counseling during this period, and that was huge. We needed it, and God used our counselor truly to help pull us through that season a lot faster than we probably would have sat through on our own. So that was really big.
The last one that we have there is consistency. And the whole idea with that is this is just what happens when you do the other 5 for a long period of time, okay? When you do these other 5, consistency happens. So don't start with consistency, okay? Start with the first 5. Consistency happens. Faithful, fruitful. You do the right thing. On days you feel like it, on days you don't. On days you feel like it, days you don't. And eventually what happens, you see something fruitful in your life. And you're like, man, consistency is what happens. Consistency is God's gift to you after you give God the gift of discipline. And you give God this gift of, I'm gonna honor the one that He gave me and trusted me with. And I'm gonna guard this relationship, and I'm gonna fight for this relationship. And no matter where you are, some of you are like, man, if I knew my marriage can be awesome starting tomorrow, then I'd go for it. You've got the wrong vibe, and it probably won't work. But if you're at a spot where you're like, man, I just know the direction we're going isn't awesome right now, here's what I would tell you. It's going to be a challenging process. Jesus might haul off and say, hey, see these heavy jars? Hike to the water source and bring them back. But at the end of this hard work, I want to show this illustration, okay? So we're with this. Let's say you're empty. You're like, I've got nothing left. maybe my marriage has got nothing left. And you're like, I don't even know what we're doing. What you do is you say, Jesus, I'm not my own source. Can you do something? And here's what we see in Scripture. It says that Jesus takes this water, and they're gonna serve water. And all of a sudden, the people, like when they serve the water, can you imagine how nervous the servants are? They're like, okay. Like I would have loved it if Jesus would have been like, bippity boppity boom, right? And all of a sudden it's like this Napa Valley wine or something, right? But that's not how it worked. It was water, and the miracle didn't happen during the work. The miracle happened as a product after the work. And all of a sudden they pour in the water, and you see this. And some of you are like, you sorcerer, what's Kool-Aid? But here's the thing is, he did it again, right? Is here's the deal. Most people are like, man, at the end of the wedding, when all of it's gone, that's when the $5 check comes out. But how in the world is the best wine happening after it's been served so long? And here's what I believe God can do in any one of our marriages. If we trust him, what he can do is he can say, man, I will pour out something into you that even at the end of your marriage, when everyone thinks you should be dried up, and it's gonna be sweeter than the beginning. And people are gonna taste the product, and they'll be like, man, their marriage, man, those updates, double click those updates, that's awesome. And they're gonna be like, what a great marriage. But you will be like, thank you, but you're gonna know it's just a lot of hard work. Man, we wrote this down, the end of our outline here, is that the bottom line is never stop that loving feeling. But what kind of feeling is it, okay?
Never stop that loving feeling.
Fill up the cup, not what I feel. Yes. A good marriage is not about a song, it's about a strategy. And a lot of people are like, I want that loving feeling. The loving feeling is not about, it's about, God, fill my cup.
About faithful.
And then fruitful. Last thing, I'll share this, and then I'm gonna give you some questions here. Is I over in Missouri, this is where we live in Springfield, and they got a lot of golf courses, and there's this place called Top of the Rock, and great golf course. They were having this PGA event there. And I wasn't playing that weekend, the PGA, I was watching, and so, that's
such a surprise.
Yeah, so, but I was there, and I was walking around, and this guy comes up and says, are you a MasterCard, member? And I'm like, and we're gonna talk about finances Sunday, but so this isn't a principle, so I won't say this Sunday, but I was like, why, yes, I'm part of the club of MasterCard. And he says, well, congratulations. And he says, I've got a golf club for you. I'm like, that's really cool. And then he says, hey, would you like to be part of a MasterCard Make a Moment memory? And I'm like, yes, I would. And so he says, come on out and try out your new Ghost putter on the putting green. And it's just a normal putting green. Now, professional tournaments going on, so there's a lot of people. And so I'm out there, but I can see there's a camera crew, and they're shooting a commercial. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. As I'm out there, here comes a guy, and he's old. Some of you might not know him. His name's Tom Watson. Tom Watson comes on out, and he's like, hey, and he autographs all these things for me, and if you like him, I already sold them on eBay, but what happens is he autographed all these things, and he says, because he's sponsored by MasterCard, he says, hey, thank you so much for being MasterCard. I'm like, yeah, I'm also with Visa, American Express, any of them, right? So anyway, so he says, hey, do you want to go have a putting competition at this thing called the Himalayan? It's the putting green was a very famous putting green. We got a picture of it. The Himalayan putting green, at the top of the rock. This thing is crazy. I mean, it's so tiered. And so all these people come, the camera crew comes, Tom Watson comes with me, and he says, he goes, okay, let's go for it. And so let's bring up that picture again. I want to show you on the left side bottom of this, we're by that chimney. We're there. There's like a hole on the far bottom right side of this. And there's so many tiers. He says, you go first, close to the pin wins. And I'm like, okay. And so I aim. So I'm like, okay, I'm aiming at this thing, and I hit this thing, and it goes up a hill, down a hill, up a hill, down a hill, into the drink. And then Tom Watson, he says, okay, I'll give you one more chance. I want you to know one thing, though. I designed this course. I'm like, okay. And he says, do you trust me? I'm like, well, yeah, if you designed it. He says, I'm going to have you do something totally counterintuitive. The hole's there. I want you to aim this way, and I want you to hit 3/4 of the speed as much as you can hit that way. And so I turn around, and I'm like, this feels so funny. I'm like, no way. And he's like, I designed the thing. Trust me. I'm like, okay. 3/4 speed. Boom. It goes up a hill, down a hill, up a hill, down a hill, all the way down, and then lands in the cup. I'm just kidding. It went in the drink. Okay, but it went a lot closer. It went a lot closer. Here's what I'm trying to say, right? Is some of you are like, okay, some of these things, that's not how we do it. That's not how we do it. I promise you, if you trust the one who designed this thing, even if it feels different, do what he says. When you build these tools to trust each other, and then you trust the one, even through a challenging process, man, you'll get a choice product. So here's what I'd like you to do. We're gonna take 5 minutes, we'll put it on the clock, and you're gonna have some homework here. I want you to look at these 6 things. I want you to circle one of them that you would love to have some movement in the next month in your relationship. What's one area? And you have to pick one. So even if you're perfect, which one are you the least perfect in, even though you're perfect, okay? Each of you maybe circle one, and then you can talk about it and ask each other, why was that for you? And that's just with the person you came with. I think that'd be probably the most helpful, but it'd be totally interesting if you asked the person behind you. Let's go for it.